Good morning. It's 10 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is the Title II reporting for the 2019-20 reporting year. I am Marjorie Suko. I am a consultant in the Professional Services Division at the Commission. I coordinate Title II for the state. And I have Fifi with us. After I go through the slides, she's going to walk us through the dashboard. And I would also like to acknowledge Jamal, who is helping us with all this technology. What is the agenda for today's session? Overall, we'll talk about the Title II data collection and reporting, and we'll talk about the data elements that will be collected for the 2019-20 Title II report. As we talk about the data elements, some of the changes Vested did last year, so we'll talk about that. And as I mentioned, after I'm done with the slides, Fifi will walk us through the dashboards. As I'm going through the slides, if you have any questions, please put your questions in the Q&A box. After we get through the slides, I will have a chance to review your questions, and after the demo, we'll try to address your questions. Title II starts in mid-September and goes all the way through April. So there are two distinct phases. There are different types of information is collected and in different type of, web pages. Everything is two different ways. So that's another reason I call phase 1 and phase 2. In phase 1, we are in the middle of phase 1 right now. Program completer enrolled candidates information is reported at the individual level. Pearson is our exam as well as Title II contractor. They opened a website in mid-September 2020, and this website will be open until April 2021. Phase 2 is the institutional and program report card, where institutions submit aggregate level data. IPRC is the tool developed by Vested. Vested is our federal contractor. They work with the teacher preparation programs on one side and U.S. Department of Education. The IPRC is a web-based paperless system. Again, we have been using this IPRC for a while. Vested will open the website sometime in February next year. It'll be a totally different website, and you will get the login from Vested directly sometime in February. And that website will also remain open until April 2021. Here is almost like a schedule for phase 1. It starts with different milestones which will be happening between now and April 30th. As I mentioned, the website is already open. As of yesterday, per Pearson, almost 6 institutions have already submitted their data collection worksheet so they can relax and enjoy the holidays. They're all done. And another 45 institutions have downloaded the data collection worksheet. So I know they're all working. And another 45, I think 47 institutions have not accessed the website and have not downloaded the data collection worksheet. I encourage, please, after this webinar, log in, at least download your data collection worksheet. And then, because I think this is the hardest part of the report, since you have to account for every single enrolled candidate and program completer for the 19-20 year. So I will encourage you to download the worksheet and start working on the worksheet. February 5th is the final deadline for you to submit and Pearson to run the matching report. Every time you submit a data collection worksheet, Pearson is going to do a rigorous matching. They will use SSN, date of birth, and name to find exam data for all your enrolled candidates and program completers. This uploading data collection worksheet matching between you and Pearson happens all the way till February 5th. February 5th is the final deadline. So I encourage you to get this data collection worksheet process going. This year we have 97 institutions submitting the Title II. So once we get all 97 institutions finalize their pass rate, Pearson will send the final list to Vested, and Vested will upload your pass rate into your IPRC. This will all happen. It have to happen before April 30th because that is the final federal deadline for all of you to submit your entire report. Here is a sample data correction worksheet. Not much changes. If you are doing Title II for a while, it should look very familiar. Pearson customizes the data collection worksheet It has your 3-digit code. It should have your name, institution's name. And the first 5 blue columns, it is your enrolled candidates and program completers' personal information such as SSN, last name, first name, and date of birth. Pearson has given some sample records how they want you to enter the data. For example, Social Security, there is no hyphen necessary. You can enter them like a string. Last name, first name, upper lowercase, fine. Middle initial, if you have an initial, enter that initial. Date of birth, they want you to enter 2 month, 2 day, date, and then 2 for years. So they're exactly the same format. Moving to the program type column, this is where you're going to indicate if your enrolled candidates or program completers are coming through either a traditional route or an intern route or a district intern route. Moving to the yellow column, reporting group, you see 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2 are enrolled candidates, and group 3 is program completers. When you see the matching report, you will see groups 4 and 5. That is program completers from prior years. You have already submitted the information to Pearson. So you don't have to submit the data, but Pearson will update the pass rate and upload it for you. Group 1 is enrolled candidates who finished all non-clinical work, and other enrolled candidates are considered group 2, and program completers are group 3. Moving to the next column, basic skills other than CBEST. This is not a federal mandate, but from time to time, we do get requests from the legislature how many candidates are coming through non-CBEST option, since we do have a lot of options. So you will see a drop down with 8 options: SAT, ACT, AP courses, CSAT multiple subject plus writing, CSU's early assessment. So do not write anything, just pick one from the drop-down menu for your candidates who are taking non-CBEST to fulfill basic skills. The last 3 columns in green, it is your candidate's credential information. Under, as you know, Title II is for teaching credentials only. So you will say M for multiple subject, S for single subject, E for education specialist. And the next column, how are your candidates fulfilling subject matter requirements? Are they coming through a program route, indicate with a P, or if they are taking CSAT with an exam route? This is the only way Pearson is going to know to match exam data for your candidates. So it's critical. All the data columns are critical, but this is the only way Pearson is going to know. Last column is the content area code. Here, Pearson has a lot of data validation built in. For example, if you select multiple subject, it's going to give you only general subjects. And if you select single subject, it's going to give you all the single subject codes. I used to get a lot of questions on this column. What kind of a code I should have? So now I think in the last 2 years, it's pretty quiet. So I think now we are all familiar with this data collection worksheet. So here again, this is your main information you're submitting to Pearson. For any reason, you find some problems. For example, the common problem I get was I have a duplicate candidate in my data collection worksheet. So what should I do? So you go back to your data collection worksheet, make the correction, and re-upload your data collection worksheet to Pearson. And every time you upload your data collection worksheet, it's going to rewrite or save your data collection worksheet. So whatever you submitted, that's going to be your most recent one. So anytime you want to make a change, you make the change in this Excel data collection worksheet. And it has to be always complete. For example, you forgot 2 candidates, you cannot enter the 2 candidate in another spreadsheet and upload it. It has to be in your customized, your data collection worksheet. Matching report. This is a sample matching report. This is in a PDF. For all the information you provided for your candidates, Pearson is going to match all the exams and indicate pass or fail. So you can focus, make sure all your candidates have been accounted for with the exam data. For any reason, Pearson cannot find your candidates in their database, it's going to produce an exception report. So if you have 100 students and 95 showed up in the matching report and 5 are showing up in the exception report, I would pay attention to this report and find out why they did not match. Invariably, transposed social security number, a change in last name, those are the 2 reasons sometimes they don't match. So when you find problems or issues, go back to your data collection worksheet, make the changes in your original data collection worksheet and upload it again, and Pearson will run the matching report again. Here, this is a sample final assessment pass rate report. This is a federal template we have to use. So you will see institution code, institution name, assessment code, assessment name, test company, because we use Pearson for all our exams. So it's going to be 2 per column E. For each assessment, we have show low score, high score, cut score. And then the group, you will see 1 through 5, as I mentioned earlier, 4 and 5. Pearson will take care of it. 1, 2, and 3, you reported and they matched your pass rate. We'll show number of people who took the exam, an average scale score, number of people who passed, and a pass rate for that assessment. And the last 2 columns are not shown because that is after we get information from all the 97 institutions, Pearson will calculate a statewide pass rate and statewide scale score. This final assessment pass rate report will be available back to you by March 31st. And make sure you make a copy for it. So this is the data will be reported or loaded into your IPRC. So this will be a reference. So up to this point, phase 1 is done. So this is the hard part. Like I said, please go and download your data collection worksheet and start entering your information, because February 5th is the final deadline for you to do the matching report. Title II reporting requirement. Why do we have to do Title II? It comes from Higher Education Act, which is a federal law. Section 205 through 208 specifically asks that all teacher preparation programs who offer initial credential must submit certain data elements to the U.S. Department of Education in a timely manner. So that's why we are doing this Title II report every year. This is across the entire country, 50 states and 7 or 8 territories. And Westat is our federal contractor, and they designed the IPRC. I think 48 states are using the same system. So since California selected IPRC, all of us will be reporting data through this IPRC. Institution and program report card. As I mentioned, we have 3 different routes. Since it's a federal report, we have to use the federal nomenclatures or naming convention. Traditionally, it's our student teaching route. Alternative IHE based is our university intern program. Alternative not IHE is our district intern program. All of us submit the information through this IPRC, and April 30th is the federal deadline. There is no extension. So the next few slides are going to be screenshots from IPRC. I don't think Westat is making any changes. Since IPRC is closed right now, we have to show the slides from prior year. So don't pay attention to the year, but the content should look the same. So this is the Westat IPRC login. You enter your username, password, and there is a link if you forgot your username or password. Once you enter those information, it's going to take you to the multi-factor authentication. This is what is the MFA? This is adding a second layer of security. Since we are all logging into the federal database, they want to make sure there is an extra layer of protection. This MFA asks for a special code. You can do it 2 ways. There are some authenticator apps available. You can download those apps on your smartphone. If you don't want to do that, you can request a code through email. I remember when Westat first implemented this authentication, got a call from say, I don't want to use my personal phone to get a code for work. So I perfectly understand. We all convey that information back to the Westat. So they came up with a second option. You can get the code through email. When I work on the state report, it looks exactly like this, and I also have to get a code. And I used to use the authenticator, but now it's so simple to request the code through email. So that's what the option I choose. User dashboards, once you have done the 2 levels of login, it's going to take you to your dashboard. Here in this example, this is an example. Utah State University, it looks like they have both routes, traditional route and an intern route. So you have to do 2 separate reports. The content will be the same, but the number of people enrolled and the demographic information, program completers, those information will be different. Now we'll go through some sections. Program information section is long. It has several subsections starting with admission and completion requirements. Here it asks the same questions for undergraduate and postgraduate requirements. There are 15 data elements starting from transcript, fingerprint check. Do you ask for essays, recommendation? So they're all yes or no questions, and you will see 2 columns, one for admission or entry into your program, and a second column for completion or exiting your program. Very straightforward, no changes. And it also asks for what is the minimum GPA required for admission into your program. So you enter that GPA. What is the minimum GPA required for completing the program? They used, in addition to the minimum GPA, Feds used to ask median GPA. It was so confusing. We didn't get really good data. So now they dropped those questions. It's just minimum GPA for entry and minimum GPA for exit from your program. Moving on to clinical experience. This is a very popular section. We get a lot of questions from the commissioners. Vested again made some changes last year. Before, they used to ask the same questions for both student teaching route and intern route. It was confusing, and the data were very good. So now they separated it out. Are there programs with student teaching models? If you're reporting for student teaching report, yes. And there are 2 questions. Number of clock hours supervised clinical experience required prior to student teaching, and number of clock hours required for student teaching. So very easy now. And 18, 19 was the first time we got really good, clean data. Then in the same section, it asks for how many people are involved in the supervised clinical experience. The first one asks for number of full-time equivalent faculty. For example, if you have 2 faculty, part-time faculty of 0.5, it adds up to 1 FTE. So if you have other fraction, Vested has given a tool where you can input your fractions and then get a FTE calculation. I have not personally used this tool, but I think it's there for you to calculate. Other 3 questions are very straightforward. You don't have to do any calculation. Number of faculty supervising clinical experience, number of cooperating teachers supervising clinical experience, and number of students in supervised clinical experience. And you can put some additional information about the supervised clinical experience. Whenever you see a text box, either you can type directly into the text box or you can do copy and paste. Regardless, I will always run the spell check. Moving on to enrollment and program completers. This is also highly used. Data from the sections are highly used, and it's a very popular section. Again, last year, Vested made some changes. In prior years, enrollment and program completers were 2 distinct categories. So for smaller programs, 12-month programs, candidates start as enrolled candidates. At the end of the program, they are program completers. So we couldn't get a big, complete enrolled picture for the state. So now they change it. You say, now they ask total number of individuals enrolled and program completers as a subset. And they do the same for gender, totally enrolled, and show the program completers for gender as well as for ethnicity. Both gender and ethnicity has an option now, no race ethnicity reported. I will say whatever you have on file, report that information. As I mentioned, we use this information a lot also to try to see how our teacher preparation programs are showing a lot of diversity, beginning to look like our K-12. So if at all possible, put your information upon the categories and use these categories sparingly. Moving to the next section, Teachers prepared by subject area. There is no change to this section. Westet is using the CAP code, SIP code, which is the Curriculum Instruction Program code. As I mentioned, Title II is common across all 50 states. The SIP codes are used by all Title IV institutions. So that's the reason it's there. But you can pick the relevant subject area and enter your data. If you do not have any program completers in that specific row, you can leave that row blank. Teachers prepared by academic major. In prior years, the academic major referred to academic major of your candidates from their bachelor degree, which was hard for institutions to report, and that information wasn't very good. So now again, Westet made some changes. Do participants earn a degree upon completion of the program? Yes or no? So this is applicable to programs who offer a degree at the end of the program. Most of our programs offer license or a credential, not a program, except integrated programs. They may offer a bachelor degree and a credential at the same time, or master's degree and credential. So they enter this data. Here again, it has a zip code, an academic major. Try to enter data as, academic major as closely aligned to this academic major listed here. For example, life sciences and biological sciences, they're related. So try to match as much as possible, avoid other category. Last year, they put a whole bunch of candidates in other category. Of course, Commissioner asked, what is this other category? Whenever you use other, it's not that useful information. We cannot do anything with that. So try to pick categories from the academic major column. Program assurances. In this section, there is no changes. Same 6 statements with yes or no question. The only thing I want to point out here is when you select yes, be prepared to provide documentation and evidence for your responses when requested. So U.S. Department of Education can ask for you to provide some supporting documentation. So when you select yes, make sure you have enough evidence to provide. Moving to section 2, this is the annual goals. This is again another popular section. We always get a lot of questions on this section. Here again, the purpose of this section is how do teacher preparation programs respond to teacher shortage areas in math, science, and special education. According to the feds, instruction of limited English proficient students, it's also they consider this as a subject. In California, all our teaching documents embed EL, so we don't consider as a separate subject. So this section is applicable to teacher preparation programs who issue credential in math and science, as well as in special education. Also, Westet made some changes last year, made it kind of simpler. Before they will ask for quantifiable number of math and science teachers. Institutions had a hard time to project. So they took that out. Right now, very simple. Programs offered in the subjects. If you offer a math credential, you say yes. And describe your goal, goals met, yes or no, and describe the strategies. I see a lot of good information coming out of the section. For example, one institution said we wanted to increase 16 math teachers. We had 14 math candidates enrolled in the math program. So they said actually they did not meet the goal because they did not meet the target. But how they invite math faculty to talk to their candidates, how they have weekend math symposium, webinar. So they had a lot of good information. So the whole idea is how you respond to the teacher shortage area. So this is the place where you can enter data for last year, current year, and future year, as well as for 3 different subjects, math, science, and special education. Pass rate, we talked a lot about pass rates in the beginning. Since it's by February 5th, you're already done with the pass rate. Pearson will send the master data file to Westet, and Westet will upload your pass rate into this section. Since we have done a lot of back and forth review between you and Pearson, we do not expect any error or anything at this point. Usually Westet uploads the data by mid-April. So you can work on all other sections except this pass rate. You have to have pass rate data before you can certify the report. I remember one title to coordinator. She will finish all the other sections. She will be just waiting for April 15th. The minute Westat uploads the pass rate data, she will certify her report. But you will have 2 more weeks to review all your sections and certify the report by April 30th. So since you have already provided the data, this is how it's going to look. It's going to look a little different. The one caveat I want to make sure is if the number of test takers are fewer than 10, we cannot show, we would suppress the numbers for the next 3 columns. Just to kind of maintain confidentiality. Last year, new title to coordinator, he called me in a panic. All my data looked blank. So we had to take a look at his report. It was a small program, and every subset, sometimes they don't have enough. So it was fewer than 10. So make sure you look at the first column, and then that should make sure that the columns are blank because the number of test takers were fewer than 10. Person will also calculate summary pass rate for your current year as well as 2 prior years. So this is a big section, but you're working on it right now. So that should be loaded. You don't have to do anything. Westat will load the section for you. Low performing, this asks about your accreditation status. All our programs are accredited by CTC, and a couple of them are provisional approval. There are some institutions, in addition to CTC accreditation, they have other accreditation, so indicate that. The last question, is your teacher preparation program currently under a designation as low performing by the state? This refers to your accreditation status. If an institution is in accreditation with major stipulation, that is considered low performing. For 1920, there is one institution with major stipulation, so I had to report this as part of the state report. Section 5, technology, no changes. Here again, 4 questions. How your teacher preparation programs integrate technology into your curriculum and instruction? How do you teach to collect data, manage data, analyze data? And then open-ended question. So here again, you can copy and paste, you can enter data, and always run spell check. Teacher training, it used to be a set of questions, now there are 2 open-ended questions. How you train your teachers. This is the last section of IPRC. This is an optional section, but some institutions take advantage and enter information. I would say this Title II is public information, potential candidates, researcher, education community, they are all looking at this information. So this is a good place if you have something unique you want to talk about your program. This is a place you can enter data. Here again, this is an optional section. I also want to point out the menu on the right-hand side. As you're working through various sections, you will see all the sections listed here with the red dot. When you're working, it's going to say in progress. Once you have saved and completed, the red dot will become green dot. You can enter data in a linear fashion, or you can jump around, but always make sure after you enter data, so click on the save button. Westat has built some good data validation features in here. As I mentioned, in every page, you will see this floating bar. When you're working on it, it's going to say this page is in progress, and there's a save button. So in this example, obviously you have saved the information, but it hasn't been completed. So it's telling you that you have to go back to section 1 and click on this page is complete. Every time you click on it, this green dot, red dot will become green. That means that section is complete. And also this is going to give an update of your progress. I want to make one another plea almost. Last year we had 152 reports to review. We try to catch as much as possible outliers. We look for outliers and missing data, but you have 1 or 2 reports. Sometimes institutions report the same data for both reports. enrollment. So that means duplicate count. So we had to do a follow-up, get the correct data. I had to send it back to Wested. Then also we had to send the correction to our IT folks to change the data in the data warehouse. Then Fifi had to change the data dashboards. So there are several steps we had to go through to make the data accurate. So please, before you click the submit button, make sure you reviewed all the sections. Do not leave any missing boxes. Then you click on it, because once you click on it, it's going to be read only. I cannot show you the certification screen, so you have gone through your edit. It's going to bring you the certification screen. It's going to ask name and title for two people, the one who worked on the report, as well as one who is reviewing the report. If you worked on the report, it will be your name and your title. And if your provost or dean is reviewing, that will be their name as well as the titles. Like again, once you click the button, it's going to be read only. But if you find any errors, there's ways to fix it. It's going to be time consuming, but several steps, but it's possible. So that finishes the IPRC. I have added this slide. This Assembly Bill 2086 was signed almost 10 years ago now. This bill also asks teacher preparation programs to publish pass rate for all your exams. Since you have already done all the hard work for Title II, you can use the same information. So for now, your website should have your 2018-19 pass rate for your assessment. Once you finish 1920, next April, as soon as you finish your report, make sure you replace the 1920 pass rate on your webpage. Our contact information, since we are not in the building, email is the best way to reach me. Anytime if you have a question, please do not hesitate to send me an email either to my email or a Title II box. And Pearson and Wested, they also have a 1-800 number. They're also very good in responding to their email. This has some websites where you can access your program data collection worksheet, state reports, federal report, and some generic web pages, all related to Title II. At this point, I will stop sharing my screen so Fifi can walk us through our dashboard. Like I mentioned, if there's any questions, please enter your questions in the Q&A box.
Thank you, Marjorie. Good morning. So today I will demonstrate where you can find the Title II data on the Commission's website. Title II data are available on the Commission's Title II website and in the Commission's set of accreditation data dashboards accessible through the accreditation data system. So I'll first start with the Title II website. The Title II website focuses on reported data in 3 areas: state trends, state highlights, and data by institution. The dashboards now include 2018-19 data. So now on my share screen is the Commission's homepage, which I hope you are all familiar with. Feel free to follow along using your own devices as I go through the demo. The easiest way to access the Title II dashboard from the Commission's homepage is through the Data and Reports link. You can also find the Title II website in the Program Sponsors section, but let's take the easy way. If you are following along, go ahead and click Data and Reports. Then you'll have to click Data and Reports highlighted in orange as well. So on the Data and Reports page, there will be a list of topics. You want to click on Annual Report Cards Title II. On the main Title II page, there's information about Title II and new information relating to the reporting process. Additionally, there are 3 sections: dashboards and annual report cards, background information, and contacts. To view Title II data, click Dashboard and Annual Report Cards. This section provides you the dashboard links as well as the PDF reports. We will explore all 3 data dashboard pages. and we'll start with the state trends. So click on the state trends link. Here on the state trends page, you can view data trends on 5 different topics. With the 2018-19 report, we now have 5 years of Title II data on the dashboards. So let's take a look at data trends for program completers. So click on the program completers link. So you can view the bar graphs showing an upward trend of completers in the last 5 years. If you hover your mouse over on the total, you can view the percent change from the prior year. Data are also available by program route. To view trend data by segment or for your institution, click the Institution tab. The line graphs display data by segment and also by program route. I'm just going to scroll a little bit up. And you can view your institution data by selecting the institution name drop-down menu to view your institution's program completer trend data. So I'm going to close this tab and go back to the main Title II page. And let's take a look at the state highlights. So on the state highlights page, data will be defaulted to the most recent academic year. You can select prior year data as well. Scrolling down, you can see information for the number of institutions that submitted Title II data for that year. So for 2018-19, there were 94 institutions that submitted Title II data, and the list of institutions are available in Figure 4. If you scroll further down, there's data on the number of institutions by reports and by programs, and they are disaggregated by program route and by segment. Further down, there's information on entry and exit requirements reported by institutions, and you can select by program route. Below that is enrolled candidate and program completer data by program route and by segment. Data is also reported by gender identity and also by race and ethnicity. And then below that, there's data reported for supervised clinical experiences, and you can select the type of clinical experiences that you want to look at. You can also find data on the number of teachers prepared by subject area and academic major for 2018-19, and also view it by different program routes. There's also data for annual goals in math, science, and special education, specifically how many institutions met their goals. And lastly, you can view teacher certification exams pass rate by type, by examinee group, and by route. So let's close this tab and go back to the main Title II page. And let's take a look at the reports by institutions. So again, the academic year will be defaulted to the most recent year. For this demo, we'll look at Biola University data, but you can select your own institution. You can use the search box to just type in the keyword so that your institution can pop up quickly. Select the institution and click the arrow. So you can reselect a different year or institution, but we'll stick with these two selections. This dashboard is organized in 4 different sections: program admission and context, candidate information, goals, assurances, tech and training, and teacher certification examinations. So on the program admission and context section, there'll be information about your programs that you reported in Title II. Admission information, however, starting in 2018-19, formal admission information is no longer required for Title II reporting, but you can still view the data reported for the prior years. That's why we kept this section. Below that, you can view your entry-exit requirements that you reported, including by GPA and any contextual information that you reported. So again, this section is optional. Scrolling back up, let's take a look at candidate information. So here you can view your institution's enrolled candidate data by route, by gender identity, and also by race and ethnicity. You can view the supervised clinical experience information that you reported, data by teachers prepared by subject area and academic major. And also in this section, you can view program completer data. So starting in 2018-19, Title II now collects demographic data for program completers, and that will show in this section. And scrolling back up, let's take a look at the next section, which is goals, assurances, tech, and training. This section is pretty straightforward. So you can view your institution's goal information. You can select a goal question. You can view the reporting information on your assurances, use of technology, and teacher training. Since there are a lot of text in this section, you can hover over to read its entirety. And then scrolling back up, let's go to the last section, which is the teacher certification examinations. So here you can view the pass rates by exam type, examinee group, and by program route. So again, Marjorie had mentioned that if there are fewer than 10 test takers, you will probably see blanks, and that's okay. So similarly, you can also find institutions' Title II data on the Commission set of accreditation data dashboards, or in short, we call it ADD. To access the dashboards, you do need to have an ADS account. That's the Accreditation Data System account. So let me go ahead and show you that by closing this tab first. And then just scrolling up on the main Title II page. This time, click Program Sponsors, then select Accreditation. Scroll down until you see the Accreditation Data Dashboard section. So in this section, you can find out what data are available on the ADD, and it will include the Title II data. You can access the ADD by clicking the ADS or the Accreditation Data System hyperlink. This will take you to the ADS login page. I do want to mention that this site is not available to the general public because you do have to have an email account. An email address and a password. So I'm just going to close this and switch over to our test page for this demo. But everything will look exactly the same when you access the ADS website. So if you do have an email and password, enter it here. I'm going to do. If you do not have an account, then you can create one by clicking the Create an Account at the bottom. To complete the process, your unit head, which may be your dean or superintendent, will need to also give you permission to access your institution data. Also, if you are creating a new account, make sure you use an email with your institution's domain address. If you use an email with a Gmail or Yahoo domain, or even this AOL domain, your unit head will need to confirm who you are in the system first before giving you permission to view your institution's data. So this is not a good example for an email address, so make sure you do use your institution's domain email address. And then just to reiterate, the general public won't be able to access your institution data. So only individuals affiliated to a commission-approved institution and the unit head provides permission for the individuals can access the data. So once you have your email and password, click Sign In. After you log in, click on the institution that you will see on the page. And then on the next page, you should see a Data Dashboard button. Click on the Data Dashboard button. When you come to this page, it may take about a minute for the dashboard to load, especially when you're accessing it for the first time. So please be patient while it does load because it does have a lot of data in this set of data dashboards. But while the dashboards are loading, I do want to point out that there is 2 user guides and a link for a link that has a keyboard guide for accessibility users. The Part 1 document provides you steps on how to get to this dashboard page. And Part 2 provides you a little bit more information about the dashboard itself, what type of data are available, how you can filter for some of the information within the dashboard. So I definitely recommend that you all take a look at the Part 2 document. So after the dashboard finishes loading, you want to review the overview page. So this gives you information about all of the data and information available on the dashboard. So for Title II data, you want to click on the icon above Annual Report Card. Select the academic year. Again, this will be defaulted to the most recent year, and click the arrow. And then here, this dashboard page should look familiar to you. Has the same 4 tabs that you saw in the Report by Institution page. So you can go through the Title II data that your institution reported and certified. I do want to point out that RICA and TPA pass rates are reported in Title II, and so they are available in this Assessments section. So you click on the icon above Assessments, you will come to the default RICA page. If you do not see any data on this page, make sure that you check the default selections in the drop-down menus. The page will default to the most recent year and for all program completers. So if you do not have any data for program completers, then make sure that you select a different group. And there's also a tab for TPA. So you want to click that to view your institution's TPA pass rates. And so this is the end of the demo. We will now answer any questions that you have in the Q&A. If you do not have any questions, we will also follow up at a later time. So, just open that. Okay, so the first question we have is, in California, the governor did a waiver for some of the exams, RICA and TPAs, where it becomes required as part of induction, not as part of their preparation completion. Would this cause us trouble with the rigorous matching from Pearson?
Okay, I'll try to respond. Yes, the governor's executive order came out in April or May. It did move some of the requirements like TPA and RECAT to clear credential. So we checked with Vestat. According to the feds, the definition of program completers have not changed. So the only difference is, since TPA was moved to clear or induction level, the key part is for the candidates who are impacted by COVID-19. So this TPA requirement is still part of program completer requirements, but for any reason, if you have a candidate finish all the requirements except TPA, then that person is a program completer. So there is no change in the federal definition, but you have moved the candidate to a clear credential by issuing a preliminary credential. That person is considered program completer. When Pearson calculates pass rate, it calculates based on the number of people who took that particular assessment. For example, if there are 20 people who took CalTPA and 18 pass, it's going to calculate just for the out of that 18 out of 20. So it's not going to impact that pass rate.
Okay, next question. Should the program completers and CIP codes that are reported to IPEDS match Title II? If so, why do we report twice?
That's a good question. We do not coordinate Title IV, but I know Title IV uses CIP code. The reason the CIP code is there just to provide reference. Sometimes the same person is doing both IPEDS and Title II. So to answer your question, it does not have to match, but here it is only for Title II. We don't go and do any kind of matching. CIP is there for your reference only.
Sorry, just a moment.
Yeah. There's a question on Title II funding. Yeah, I can take that one. There's a question if somebody can start a preliminary program using Title II funds. We do not deal with any Title II funding at all. Title II, the report we do, the report we coordinate by CTC, it's all teacher preparation programs requirement only. We do not deal with Title II funding at all.
Okay. And then we just have a question about a link to the chats.
Yeah, the link I mentioned, the Assembly Bill 2086, I think she found the link. If you also go where, if we took you around the Title II dashboard page, there is a background section where it talks detailedly about Assembly Bill 2086 and why you have to publish your pass rate on your web page. And we did a program sponsor alert. I think I want to say 11-13. So it should be also available on our web page. The gist of that bill is teacher preparation programs must publish a pass rate or assessment rate on your web page. Since you're already doing Title II, the easiest and simplest way it is to publish your Title II report just at the pass rate section. In prior years, you could put a link to our web page, but the thing is, it's going to show all the statewide pass rate. The law, the Assembly Bill requires you to submit pass rate for your institutions only.
And then we have a question on where to download the worksheet.
I think that is the Ed Reports web link. I don't have it handy. If you're a primary contact, you should have received the email from Pearson in mid-September, or you may want to check with your primary contact at your institution. They should have the link. That's the Ed Reports link.
Okay. We have a question on program completers. So is there guidance related to the Title II definition for program completers given the executive order in California that allows us to recommend students for their preliminary teaching credential without passing some exams?
As I mentioned, the federal Title II is a federal mandate. Every single data element and the definition that it comes from the law, so we had to follow. So that's the first thing we did, check with Vestat. The definition has not changed, but the TPA for the people who were impacted by the COVID-19. And there is a big COVID-19 research section available on our webpage. I think if you go to our main webpage, there's a big green band. So if you click on that, there are several sections. But for Title II purpose, the definition did not change. The TPA was moved. The requirement TPA was moved to induction or clear credential. And you report that candidates. We're also released a program completed checklist last year. Based on some feedback from the field, we are updating the checklist and hope to get this checklist back to you later this week.
Okay. And then we have a question on Title II only for preliminary, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm glad you brought that up. This is for initial teaching credential only, because since it is an annual data collection, we do not want any duplicate information from year to year. So it's brand new people who got initial or preliminary teaching credential in 2019-20 years. The Title II time frame runs from September 1st through August 31st. So that's our time frame. Brand new credential or initial or preliminary credential only. Do not report added authorizations or secondary credentials.
And the next question, do induction programs supporting TPA and RICA candidates based on VTW or EO need to report?
RICA was always a licensing requirement. RICA was not a program completer requirement, so that did not change. Only the TPA requirement for candidates who were impacted by COVID-19. So that it is not for everybody. TPA is still a requirement, but it was moved to induction and credential.
Right, but induction programs do not report in Title II, only the preliminary programs,
yes.
Preliminary teaching. Okay. And then so we have another question. So anyone can see this decree. I think this question is referring to the accreditation data dashboards. No, not the general public cannot access the accreditation data dashboards on the accreditation data system or the ADS page. You have to be affiliated with the institution. There's a second part confirmation from your unit head that will allow you to see your institution's data. So let's say that if I am a public person and I want to see like Biola University's institution Title II data, and I go to the ADS login page and I create an account with my own personal email, maybe a Yahoo email, but I won't be able to see Biola University's data because the unit head from Biola University did not confirm that I am affiliated with their institution. And so without that confirmation, I can have an ADS account, but will never see the institution data. So your unit head, which could be your dean or superintendent, will have to give you permission to view your institution data. Even if you create a domain, using your institution's domain email address, they still have to give you permission to be able to see your institution data. I hope that clarifies a little bit. But on the Title II public website, which I had showed in the beginning, that is public, and they can just select your institution on the Title II, the reports by institution page. Select your institution and view the Title II data. Okay, next question. Does Title II reports also require data from administrative programs or just teaching programs?
Thank you for the question again. This is Title II is just for teaching programs only. We do not have to report on services credentials or no admin data. Just multiple subject, single subject, and education specialist and new credentials only.
Okay, so let's see, we have another question. If a candidate was active in 2018-2019, but inactive in 2019-20, and is now active again in 2020-2021, are they reported for 2019-20, or are they considered inactive for that year?
So let's take this scenario. It is very specific. Right now, you're reporting for 2019-20 year. Think of you have two buckets, enrolled and program completed. For 1920, from your description, she was not a program completer, not an enrolled. Did you report, the other question is, did you report this person in 2018-19? Because you don't want to duplicate the same candidate in 2 years. Because if you do, when you send your data collection worksheet to Pearson, it's going to kick it back. So that is your way of deciding. Have you ever reported this 18-19? Think of it as a cohort, So if you have reported that person in 18-19, yes, keep them there. But if the person is inactive for 19-20, please do not report that in the 19-20 year.
And then we have another question. Could you clarify the question credentialed by assessment or program for a non-traditional program?
I don't know what non-traditional program is. If you are referring the column in the data collection.
The alternative route?
Intern route. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 routes for Title II. Traditional are the student teaching route, university intern route, and district intern route. Under credential by assessment program, here it refers to the subject matter requirement. There are commission approved subject matter programs. The candidates can fulfill the subject matter through going through a commission approved program, or they can take CSET, commission approved exams. So that's what the P for program route, X for exam route. So when you put an X, then it tells Pearson that candidate took CSET exam. So Pearson will be looking for the CSET exam. So that's what the assessment or program route.
And I think that was the last of the questions.
And we are at the end of the hour. Thank you so much. We will follow up. Also, people who haven't downloaded the data collection worksheet, please go and download. And I will start sending periodic emails. In that, we will be sending the links and PowerPoint and any other general information. Thanks again. Have a good day.